Hi everyone, this is Chad. I'm doing a makeup recording or just a recording that you'll be able to look back on and see if you'd like. So I'm going to go over the topics we went through in the first week and in the first lesson. So most or a good chunk of what we did was introduction. So I will skip to my introduction. My name's Chad Stewart. I have been an animator for almost 25 years. I worked the first part of my career in traditional hand-drawn animation. But before that, at about sixth grade, about 13 years old, that's when I decided I wanted to be an animator. And so my family went to Disneyland. We wrote Disney Studios, and they told me about a college to go to called CalArts, and that's where I went. And then I came out here. Took me 3 tries to get in. Came out here, became an animator, and I worked at Disney ultimately for 4 years animated on Tarzan, on Emperor's New Groove, and on Fantasia 2000. And then I switched over to computer animation and animated on Stewart Little 2 at a company called Sony Pictures ImageWorks, and then animated on the Polar Express, was a lead animator on the Polar Express and oversaw some sequences, including uh, things like any time the train was outside, the hobo character, the ghost character with the coffee. Did a lot of work with him, and then was also an animation supervisor on the movie Surf's Up, where I oversaw a lot of the surfing sequences and worked with a team of animators and helped oversee and get that surfing animation to the screen. So at that point, I moved into a development role. I did some contracting, some freelance, and now I work for Sony Pictures Animation and do um, development, 3D development, and basically we prototype ideas. So if an idea comes in and we want to, and the studio wants to make it, I work with a team of 3 other guys, and we will make a short 30-second to maybe sometimes even a minute piece of what that idea could look like. And then when they're ready to make it, then they hand it over to a different section of the company and they produce it, and then we go on and work on a different idea. So moving to the next thing. So we talked a little bit about what is a character animator, and that there's 3 kinds of kind of sections to an animator, to a character animator. The first is that he's a draftsman. If you're working with pencil, it's a draftsman. It's a technician. If you work with a computer, then you understand the technology, but you need to learn the system that you're using. If it's stop motion animation, it's becoming a craftsman with these puppets. So that's the first part. The second part is becoming an actor. The performance of these characters comes from two different people. One is the voice actor, and then the other is the animator. The animator needs to be thinking about the story and the character. We want to bring these characters to life so that the audience will sympathize with them and they'll root for them or they'll root against them. But to do all of those things, we need to understand acting and performance. And then the third part of an animator is a kineticist, is someone who understands the physical world and the physics of motion and weight and balance and gravity and how it affects the character, because the more realistic we can make that character move, the more believable that performance will be. And so when you combine all of those things, those are the skills that make up a character animator. So that's the mindset we're going to come from when we go through the animation course. And the idea behind the animation course is when I was a kid, I would have loved to be able to have the tools to really play with the art form of animation. And all I could really do was make little flip books in a notebook. So there's going to be 4 levels to the animation course. The first level is an introduction to animation. It is beginning to become comfortable with the concepts, the principles of animation. And then in level 2, we'll build on that and we'll work a little bit more in body mechanics and basic jumps and runs and walks and that kind of activity. And then level 3 will be talking about story and film design, cinematics, sound. And then in level 4 we'll take all of these things that we've learned and you will make your own film in level 4. Okay, so from here I'm going to go over the lesson and the assignment. Okay, now we will start with our animation projects next week. So the bouncing ball we will start next week, and we'll go through a little bit of how to work in pencil. But before we get there, I wanted to talk a little bit about some aspects of drawing, and this is where we'll do some drawing kind of all through the course to give you some important concepts that will work over all forms of animation, but they're kind of easiest to express in drawing. So we'll go through, and I'm going to go through this first concept of you can see these lines that are drawn in over these characters, and that's something called a line of action. And the line of action, it's really important for an animator to be able to give a clear indication of what he's trying to communicate, he or she is trying to communicate, and as quickly as possible. So you want as clear a pose or as clear a drawing as possible, because film is going to move at 24 frames a second. So that's a lot of images that are going to be flashed in front of the audience, and you want to make sure that each image is as clear as it can be. So you can see how it moves, the line of action moves from the tip of the character, the fist, all the way to the toe, as opposed to over here, where you can see it's a little different and it's more complex. And this over here is going to be much easier to read and much more impactful to the audience. So if you look here, you can see the same thing. And if you kind of take your eye from the left to the right, you get a sense of the impact that can happen through animation. Now if you do the same thing with this drawing here to this drawing here, you can see that the impact is not nearly as strong. And so that's one of the things that we're going to go over, is trying to really give you we're going to do some exercises to try and give you a good plan on how to start to practice that line of action. So what we're going to do is I want you to get this a little bit bigger. So this is some video I did of myself walking. And I want you to go out, take some video of yourself or your friends or your brothers and sisters of doing action, doing running, jumping, walking, leaning over, anything that is active. And one of the things that is very important in animation is understanding how to capture that action in a pose. There's a kind of drawing called gesture drawing that's much more concerned with capturing that motion of a human or an animal or something that's in motion, rather than making it look perfect and shaded and completely rendered, just like the eye would see it. So we're going to do some exercises to kind of help us capture that gesture. So the first thing, so after you've done this and done this video, find a frame or find a picture that you like the pose. And if you have the capabilities to work in a Photoshop or another digital program that you can bring in video like this, then you can draw over the top. But if not, you can just draw next to or you can draw in your sketchbook or with a piece of paper, and really try to capture the line of action. And we're just going to do kind of stick figures. You can see here, it's real simple. When you take that away, you still get that sense of action. Can do another one here. And the goal is for you to then be able to recreate that action on your own without the video. So what I want you to do is do 2 pages with 4 sketches, 4 to 6 sketches on each page. And you can do they don't have to all be the same size. But just sketches like this to fill up a page. And if you've done it in your sketchbook, then go ahead and take a picture with your phone or your parents' phone. The easiest way to get it to me is to then email that picture to yourself and then upload it to your student folder. And there'll be a folder in your student folder labeled Week 1, and that's where you'll put it. So you're going to do 2 pages with 4 to 6 sketches each, like this. And you don't need to turn in the video, so a page like this would be good to just see 4 sketches like that and then do another one. And that'll be our first assignment, and we'll do more of this throughout the course. And if you have any questions, you can always email me at chad@theanimcourse. And then next week we will get started with going through the principles of animation, which are 12 principles of animation that 2 of the original Disney animators put down and put down to paper and wrote a book about. And so if you want to get that book, it's called The Illusion of Life. It's a great book, and it's going to give you lots of information, but it's not required. So I hope you have a great week. And again, email me with any questions, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys all next week. Oh, and I almost forgot, the turn-in deadline is 12 o'clock midnight Pacific time on Saturday. So you have up until that time to turn it in. You can turn it in any time during the week. Just upload it to your folder, but you have until Saturday midnight Pacific time. All right. Have a great week, everybody.